where thousands of people, where, where thousands of people gathered at Hostage Square in Israel's Tel Aviv for a rally to mark the 2-year since October 7th. Family members of the hostages demanded the Israeli government to make the peace deal a success to ensure the safe return of the 48 remaining hostages. It's now or never banners were put up everywhere, even as protesters argued that this deal cannot be allowed to collapse. Protesters said that there was positive talk on the deal and gives them hope. But the fear lingers of the possibility of it not end up materializing. Akansha, over to you. So I think what we really want to know from here is Hamas has responded to the deal. However, they have not fully committed to the deal yet. So what are the striking key points here which could potentially lead the deal to end up not materializing?
Right. Shreya, there's a very important aspect over here to analyze, that there is pressure not just on Hamas, there's pressure on Israel as well, because as I said, that the Israeli administration under Netanyahu is also a very hawkish far-right administration. And the two far-right ministers, Ben-Gvir and the finance minister, Smotrich, both have been among the fiercest voices against ending the war as part of the previous deals. Even in exchange for all the hostages, both have advocated annexing the Gaza Strip, annexing the West Bank, a proposition that Donald Trump's Gaza plan has rejected. So that is the deal or the key sticking point for Israel. Let's now talk about Hamas. The key sticking point as far as Hamas is concerned is the fact that they have not really come up with any open commitment to disarmament, which is a key demand that has been proposed by Donald Trump in his peace plan. They've maintained a strategic silence as far as disarming is concerned, because we all know that Hamas is a militant group, and Donald Trump's peace plan not only demands that they disarm, but they should not be part of any governance plans in Gaza, something that they have indicated that they will agree to. But as far as disarmament is concerned, Hamas has not indicated if they will be completely disarming themselves. Critics are still extremely skeptical if Hamas will go ahead and release all the hostages, dead or alive. Close to 48 of them are with them. 20 of them are believed to be dead. Many are saying that it was because of the Sunday ultimatum that Hamas was compelled into coming up with a response to the peace plan. And we'll have to see how this hostage swap for prisoners exchange basically works out, because the hostages under Hamas custody are the only last bargaining chip or leverage to say that is left with Hamas. So right now, Donald Trump and the United States, along with the Arab nations that are facilitating these negotiations, are talking from a very guarded point of view, from a very cautious point of view. From Doha and Qatar, we have seen how negotiations have shifted to Egypt. Remember the U.S. delegation that includes Steve Witkoff, who's the Middle East U.S. envoy, along with the son-in-law of Donald Trump, Jared Kushner. Part of that U.S. delegation will be heading the latest round of negotiations. So we have to see how these sticking points are put forward for both the parties. But for now, it has started with an initial withdrawal plan, a map of which has already been shared with Hamas.
Thank you, Akansha, for the information. Now let's listen to what the family members of the hostage families has to say.
So it's been almost nearly 2 years since this incident happened. Several who have been taken hostage. The wait continues for the family. How are they coping up with it for nearly 2 years now?
What we know and what we don't know together is causing unbelievable anxiety and fear for the lives of our loved ones.
Does it get tricky? How do you navigate this whole, one would call a narrative that comes out in, I don't know about Israeli media, at least in international media?
I think, interestingly, as hostage families, our interest is in saving lives, saving the lives of the hostages, and incidentally, their fates are tied with the lives of Gazan civilians. So for us, I mean, as humans, for me as a human, any child who is poorly impacted by war, I think it's just awful.
Netanyahu says Hamas will be disarmed and Gaza will be demilitarized, either the easy way or the hard way. He says we will not tolerate delays and that he instructed the negotiating team to fly to Egypt and finalize the technical details of the plan. Reporting further, we would go back to Akansha.
Let's put this into perspective. We've just now played out the kind of responses that have come in from Israel. We've also played out that rally visuals of which you can see how massive these rallies are expanding in size just ahead of the October 7 anniversary of the horrific attacks that were orchestrated by Hamas against Israel. So there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of healing that's still yet to be done, and perhaps if anything, but closure can only be found once all the hostages are released, towards which Netanyahu and his administration are working towards. There are a different set of pressures on Netanyahu at the moment, as I highlighted, what the demands of the far-right ministers from his government are, whether it's his finance minister or the Israeli national security minister. But having said that, it is the demands of the people that matters more to Netanyahu at the moment, given that Israel is just a year away from elections. And as you can see, thousands of people gathering at the hostage square in Israel, Tel Aviv, for that rally is an indicator of how much pressure that Netanyahu is under, not just from the US President Donald Trump or the international community, but also from the people, from his own voter base so far. So as far as Netanyahu's statement coming in, sharing hope is concerned, he is being very hopeful. He's also appealed to the people of Israel that they are working on this peace deal diligently, and with the help of others, they will be able to manage something concrete. It's also the holiday of Sukkot, which is on for Israel. Netanyahu is extremely optimistic that he'll be able to announce the return of all the hostages, living and the dead alike, in one swoop, while the IDF will remain in the depths of the Gaza Strip and the areas controlling it. So there's a lot of fear that if this peace deal collapses, then what will IDF have, or what will Israel and its military have? Because remember, IDF has worked diligently on ground level to make these incursions into Gaza, and for them to withdraw, there has to be something concrete in hand, which for Israelis means the return of all hostages, dead or alive. And so Netanyahu taking to the public podium, making that announcement, is to pacify the anger, to pacify the panic, the concerns of all of those people who have lost their loved ones of Israel, because remember, Hamas has left a very deadly impact. It's going to be 2 years on October 7th, yet many wounds remain open. There is this looming fear because Hamas is a terrorist organization, it is a militant organization, and there is currently no guarantee if they do not disarm that such an attack may not be repeated or averted in the future.
All right. Many thanks to you, Akansha, for providing us with the abundant clarity on the matter.